social innovation and social entrepreneurship. And last but not least would be Eugenio Saba from the Advisory Service Department, from the Advisory Service Department of the European Investment Bank. We're going to focus on the case of Eugenio with the Fee Compass program, showing different options that we may have. I'm going to share the agenda and the presentation for we're going to go very briefly through it, and after that I'll give the floor to wonderful guests that we have at the session. Once again, want to thank you all the attendees and viewers of this session. It's great to have you here, and I hope it's going to be a very useful session for all of you. Okay. On my behalf and the European Crowdfunding Network, we want to invite you to this session, as we're going to talk on the innovative models of financing social economy. Today's agenda, I'm going to do 10-minute presentation for the introduction of this session. I'm going to make it brief. I'm going to try to make it as quick and nicely and paused as possible, so I could give the floor to the different views that we intend to have on this session. As I said and mentioned, we are going to scale up, from ground-based initiatives, community-based initiatives. On a first level, we're going to talk about cooperatives. We're going to talk about the grants system for this third sector and fourth sector for the social entrepreneurship. And last but not least, the very close relationship that we have to have with European institutions and financial instruments that we have accessible in the European Union. We're gonna, after this key presentations and introductions of the different organizations, we're gonna have a panel discussion to open up the debate, and we are gonna we're gonna try to energize the questions and answers to the very end of the session, so we could open up the mics to the different participants in the session. And finally, just to give a bit of a closure, we'll hopefully finish by 1:30 on the spot, so everybody would be more than happy to arrange this calendar. Just to give you a very brief introduction, we are the European Crowdfunding Network, which is a non-profit organization that works as a professional network at the European level for the different crowdfunding platforms. We bring in members of the industry of crowdfunding, plus public authorities, private entities that want to participate openly on the different discussions that we rise in Brussels, where we're based, and also in the context of the European Union. And in the session, we want to sort of bring in different perspectives from the different territories in the region. We have invited Goteo from Spain, Coopérnico and Coopérnico based in Portugal, Rethink Ireland, as the name says, from Ireland, and the European Investment Bank from Luxembourg. Wanted to just point out that we did, the beginnings of this month, we did a full session for the German context. And if you're interested in social entrepreneurship, specifically at the country level, please check our recordings for the session, which also brings in complementary information on the topics we're going to touch today. We are a small staff. We participate actively in more than 16 countries all over the European Union, with over 80 members participating within the members in our organization, plus people and entities participating in different strategic groups in Spain and Italy. We do arrange different conferences, which we will hope, if this session is interesting, you could check on the information. Just to give you a bit the highlights on the typologies of crowdfunding existing, we may focus on more the non-financial tools, okay, talking on donation or reward-based platforms, which solidarity comes in, cooperation breaks through for the communities involved in pushing those projects, thanks to the representation of Goteo. And we may talk more the financial tools as lending or even equity or impact investment in the future with the different guest participants as Nuno. We want to give you an overview that we as crowdfunding do not exclude other financial instruments, more traditional, that we complement and we supplement what is existing. It's an overlay of different tools, depending on which moment a social entrepreneur wants to launch their project, which is the funding mechanisms that they're going to have access to, which is the steps that they go through, and understanding that those same typologies has a function, has a moment for its use, and it could be, modulated for the purpose and needs. I must highlight our latest reports with the EVPA. Thanks to a very straightforward collaboration, we are talking and tackling on how to accelerate the SDGs and which is the role of crowdfunding for investing in impact. And our latest report on our side, which we want to build in the relationship on how to scale up partnerships with different entities participating, from public authorities to different research and innovation centers, from cities, from local, regional, or national level, which is the strategies that could be built upon, and especially on the session when we're talking about social economy, how the case with StartNext could align with an investment bank of Berlin. How could one Planet Crowd work with the European funds from the actual program of EASI, or even how Goteo or growth funding are already driven by impact. We may not leave behind also how the involvement of public authorities as the at the different Italian level, as the Comune di Venezia, it's working and pushing and driving this motor of social entrepreneurship. To give you a bit of the context of our purpose of the session, very, very schematically, we would like to share positions. There is a lot of conversation going on. There is a big debate that it's open, and we want to bring into the table our different participants to share, which is their financial instruments, which is what the objectives that they may be tackling, and what for, to draw a small roadmap for those ones that you're interested in crowdfunding and financial instruments that you may need in the future. It's a two-way street, understanding that we want to open up the Pandora box of what we could actually get to do thanks to crowdfunding, connecting the different funding models, that transversality we were just highlighting a moment ago. It is a chance to build bridges in between entities and mechanisms, even though it may sound very abstract, but there's willingness when we are talking about social entrepreneurship and social economy. And more than anything, it's to learn from each other. One of the key assets of collaborating, sharing the knowledge, sharing the experience, sharing the insights of the different authorities could help us to bring in this wonderful sort of context and objectives. Because we have challenges ahead that are very, very complex, and we want to challenge them thanks to the different organizations. How we could build on this, it is focusing, and especially the session on which is the effort that we could actually put on cooperatives, on mutuals, on insertion companies, which is the associations or foundations, which are the tools and mechanisms that they need to finance, or even social entrepreneurship. What does it change in their case? Which is the scale? What counts? Which it could be, what about their mission or impact? And this is where we focus. How could we empower and give tools and finance to those organizations that are reinvesting their profit and mission into their mission and their organization? Or how could we embrace participation or inclusive governance in their organizations and even evaluate their impact? We may embrace two core factors in this session. They embrace the sustainability, or we could even tackle social issues with examples that are going to be highlighted in on today's session. Social challenges which are maybe very complex, They are already existing in our different organizations and on the different projects that they've been pushing through crowdfunding. And it's a great chance to actually open the debate and the session for one direct purpose, a very important and relevant common good. Therefore, I may introduce our key panelists for today's session with Chiara Rutolo from Goteo, and it would be a chance to highlight their marvelous work in social funding, social innovation, and other different types of organizations. Please, Chiara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but I can't actually activate my video because it says that the organizer blocked it.
Don't worry, okay. We're gonna be live now.
Now I'm here. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much, Mauricio, for the great introduction. And so I'm launching the presentation. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, super.
Okay.
Live.
Perfect.
What a second. Yeah, present. Yeah, super.
Okay. Hello, my name is Chiara, and I'm talking for representing the crowdfunding platform Goteo.org. We are referring to the different types of crowdfunding that Mauricio introduced. We are a donation and reward-based crowdfunding platform. We are based in Spain. I'm currently talking from Barcelona. So first of all, before talking about the example that I'm representing here today, so the CrowdCop initiative, I would like to say a few words about what is crowdfunding according to us. Goteo is, as I said, a civic crowdfunding platform, and we like to talk about ourselves not only as a tool to generate resources, so to collect money drop by drop, as our name itself suggests. In Spanish, Goteo means drop by drop, but also and especially as a tool to build and create community around the projects and the different initiatives that we support, with the aim to generate consciousness and commitment towards social investment and civic participation. We consider Goteo as a toolbox containing different useful tools for project promoters and also for institutions that wish to connect with the alternative financing sector and the crowdfunding. So we are not only a platform and an open source digital tool that enables crowdfunding campaigns to be launched and run, but we also offer training tools, advice case by case and step by step to the different campaigns launched on our platform. And we promote match funding channels and initiatives, matching public and institutional funds with collective funds through crowdfunding campaigns. We also offer specific training programs and workshops in the field of alternative financing. Connecting with the social commitment that Mauricio was also mentioning, these are the different commitments that the projects launched on our platform have to tackle. It is possible for them to tackle more than one, and as you see, they're very different. We go from the solidarity to research, open data, citizen participation. And so the social commitment is very important for us, and the campaigns launched through Goteo should put it, highlight it on premise. Moreover, and very, very importantly, we are an open source platform, and we offer public scrutiny of all the data collected through our work, and you can visit them at stats.goteo.org. But now to go a little bit more specifically on the project I'm presenting here today, called the CrowdCoop. Actually, it is a program to foster cooperativism and the use of crowdfunding towards reaching this aim. CrowdCoop is an initiative launched by Goteo in collaboration with other two cooperatives here in Catalonia, Facto and Eres. And it is a complete training program that has been launched in 2020 with the aim of promoting the knowledge about alternative financing and crowdfunding among cooperatives in Catalonia. So these are the four tools that the program offers. On the one hand, the CrowdCoop initiatives tackles very well established and big cooperatives that wish to enhance their knowledge on alternative financing, and on the other hand, also newly created initiatives that wish to grow as cooperatives in the future. So we were offering training programs for them, and also the financing, the opportunity to launch crowdfunding campaign and get funds for their initiatives. Sorry. Okay, so this is a little bit to give you an overview of the social impact of our pilot initiative in 2020. So thanks to the CrowdCoop program, 2 new cooperatives were created in Catalonia. 12 cooperatives benefited from the full training program. 5 new jobs positions were created, 17 training workshops were held, and a total of 186 participants joined the training activities. As you can see, the measure of the impact of this initiative was a very key important aspect of CrowdCoop, and a tool to measure the social impact of the different initiatives has been developed and is being developed. And so maybe I hope to have the opportunity at the end of the session to perhaps go deeper a little bit in this. This is just a view of the total of money collected and projects, campaigns launched, and donors involved in the initiative. And this is our nice logo. So that's all for me now. So I will be happy to answer any question at the end. Thank you for listening. I don't know if I stopped the presentation.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Chiara. Now it's
still going on.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Super. Thanks very much. Very interesting approach, especially on the civic crowdfunding. You already touched one of the key points, which is a basic on working on the community and how to build upon it, and which other initiatives you're building on and how you started. So it's a fantastic opening, Chiara. Thanks very much. With Nuno Brito, I wanted to highlight which is the mechanisms coming from the cooperative side, which are the standing points for crowdfunding within the community, and how to establish maybe not specifically social impact directly, but more concretely into the sustainability part and how relevant it is to work on impact, and especially bringing alternatives to entrepreneurship itself, working on a more open scope. Please, Nuno, please take the floor The floor is yours.
Thanks, Mauricio. I still can't put on my video.
1 second, we're connecting just now.
Okay.
Super. There you go. Cheers.
So thanks a lot in the first place, Mauricio and the EUROCROWD for the invitation, and also congratulations, Chiara, on this very interesting project. I did not know of it, and I've been following Goteo for a very long time now. I have really old newsletters of Goteo in my mail inbox that I just realized from the time they were still called Riego Abierto. And yeah, so I'm Nuno. I'm one of the co-founders of Coopérnico, which is a crowd lending platform created in 2017. But quite long before that, I had already started Portugal's first renewable energy cooperative that is called Coopérnico. And when we think about cooperatives, and actually I'll tell you a lot about the differences and how cooperatives can differentiate from crowdfunding. But when we talk about cooperatives, we very often say, this is the oldest form of crowdfunding ever. And this is because it's, if you look at the definition of a cooperative is a group of people that work together towards a common goal. And it is managed according to 7 main principles that include principles like democratic management, which is probably the most important one. So in a cooperative, if you buy shares of a cooperative, and it doesn't matter how many shares you own, decisions are always taken democratically. This means one person, one vote. And this is the main difference. So usually what I say is, when people ask about cooperatives, and sometimes they're seen as companies, sometimes they are seen as non-profits, because cooperatives are also non-profit. I tend to say they're a civic movement with an economic activity, because in the end, what we're trying to do, especially thinking of cooperatives now, is democratizing many sectors that have been for too long held by powerful incumbents, let's say. So you can think about energy or housing, for example, also mobility. So there's a lot of different sorts of cooperatives that are starting. And I'm glad to hear that they also get the support of organizations like Goteo. So when I was preparing this conversation, I thought I would share maybe the most relevant questions about the cooperatives and why start a cooperative and not a crowdfunding platform, and how they differ. And for example, I'll quickly share the story of Coopérnico. When I after studying a few years abroad, I moved back to Portugal, working. Moved back to Portugal, and I had some money that I had saved that I wanted to invest green, and I couldn't find any options in Portugal to invest green. There were no green banks in Portugal. And at that time, especially, it was like 2011, so we're still like in peak crisis. So I told a few friends, why don't we try to invest in a small solar power station? I had my mother-in-law owns a small hotel in the south of Portugal. It's very sunny. They have a big roof. We can rent their roof, sell electricity to the grid. And so 3 friends said yes, let's do it. And then when we started to count our money, we realized we don't have money enough. So we started talking like any entrepreneur with family and friends and inviting them to join. We would pay back, I think, 4 or 5% interest at that time for the loans that they gave, and then and of course make the investment. and it was very easy to fund. So we started exploring what options are there to make this a business model. And when we realized what some cooperatives are already doing in Europe, we thought the cooperatives are the way to face this, because we're talking about the energy sector and ownership, and we don't need to only be generating solar power, we can also become suppliers. And actually we were very inspired by Som Energia, who is they're a cooperative in Catalonia, that they had also already started at that time. So we ended up creating a cooperative, and here is the first part where, I mean, except for the differences that I already said, but here is the first part where you can definitely see that cooperatives are different from regular economy. When we created the cooperative, we had some people join, but we did not have the money to start projects. So we were out there finding new places to make projects, and we did not have the funding for it. And people would tell us, well, when I see panels on the roof, I will lend you the money. And of course, we were in a vicious circle. If you don't have money, you can't build the panels. If you don't have panels on the roof, people won't lend you money. So I decided to go to Brussels and meet some of the biggest European renewable energy cooperatives, because they were all there for a Sustainable Energy Week. And I told them about what we were facing, and the reply I got in that moment was something like, well, we're not a bank, so we can't give you the money, but we'll share this among ourselves and the people in our network, and we'll get back to you. And a few days later, I got an email from them saying that 4 European cooperatives were able to lend money to Coopérnico to fund our first projects. So in the end, we borrowed money from a Spanish, a Dutch, and a Belgian cooperative. We started the projects. As soon as the projects were on the roofs, people started investing through Coopérnico's website, and we were able to pay back the loan in little more than 4 months. So that was one of a demonstration that cooperatives do think differently and take very, very seriously one of the mandates of cooperatives, that is cooperation among cooperatives. And so Coopérnico has since then grown by funding itself. Every new member, of course, has to buy new shares of capital, which represents a small capital increase in the cooperative. And we have not ever used crowdfunding to fund Coopérnico, also because we never actually seemed to have needed it. Every project that Coopérnico launches, we place it on the platform. It's always on the same term, so it's 3% for a 12-year loan, and they always run out within seconds, or usually less than 1 minute. So I don't think we don't have a struggle there. But we are very glad that, for example, we have just helped fund a new renewable energy cooperative in Greece by contributing to their crowdfunding campaign. So I think if there is a message that should stand out, is maybe that cooperatives do know how to collaborate among themselves. And today, Coopérnico was one of the founders of Rescoop, which is the Federation of Renewable Energy Cooperatives in Europe, and we're always all in great touch. And we never see cooperatives as competition. We actually try to support the creation of more cooperatives in Portugal, and make sure that the cooperative sector grows and grows stronger and together. this is what I have. This is what I wanted to share as an intro or a teaser, and then I'll be happy to also enter the panel discussion and talk more about this.
Thanks very much, Nuno. It's brilliant that you could precisely highlight the values of the community and the collaboration within different entities within the social economy, which I think it's one of the crucial aspects in our different territories. And probably we will drive the questions later on, but just a small curiosity. You're based in Portugal, and this other cooperatives that actually helped you to fund the starting point, were they from Portugal itself or even were European?
No, they were all European. So there were no other renewable energy cooperatives in Portugal at that moment.
Okay.
It was a Belgian one, a Dutch one, and a Spanish one. Some energy. So
mind blowing, great stuff. Thanks very much. Mario, please take the floor. It's great to have you here, and especially for the long relationship that we've known each other. It's a great chance to openly debate on your position. So please take the floor. The floor is yours. Take advantage.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
What is?
Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No, it is.
Just give me 1 second. Let's see now. Can you see my screen at the moment?
Yes, and there you go, present. And there we go.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay,
perfect.
Well,
thanks very much.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Mauricio, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here this morning with everyone. I will give you just an introduction of who we are at Rethink Ireland. My name is Mario Vottero. I'm the Business Intelligence and Operations Manager at Rethink Ireland. So, who we are. Rethink Ireland, we are a venture philanthropy fund providing cash grants and business supports to the most innovative charities and social enterprises in Ireland. So we raise funds through private philanthropy, corporate donors, trusts and foundations, and we also have the support of the Government of Ireland. Our mission is to provide growth capital to the best social innovations in Ireland so they can scale and maximize their impact. We are only 5 years old, and during these first 5 years, we have been able to achieve and create a 72 million fund, opening 32 funds in different sectors, and through them supporting 290 social innovations across Ireland, reaching more than 400,000 people, and creating 553 jobs and supporting the creation of bringing more than 1,000 people into employment. At the moment, we are a team of 47 people who are located in 3 different locations in Ireland. What makes us unique, I will say, is that we don't just give cash grants to social innovations. We support also our awardees with what we call it capacity buildings. So we work with organizations that are at different levels of development, and we build their capacities to enhance their self-sustainability and maximize their social impact. So we are not just founding social innovations, but through our approach, we are actively strengthening the sector, supporting their investment readiness. We don't do this alone. We work with our partners, bold, courageous leaders who are passionate about social change. Just to give you an example, with Bank of America, we created what we call it the Women of Ireland Fund, a 1.8 million euros fund over 3 years, created in partnership with the Government of Ireland, who matched the donation of Bank of America via the donors' accounts. In this fund, together, we are supporting charities and social enterprises that seeks to enhance the economic mobility of women. This is a good example of public and private partnership. Here you can see different departments of the Government of Ireland that we are working at the moment, and also we are receiving funds from the European Union. And here's where I would like to focus now. Let me introduce you to 3 projects where together with key partners, we are supporting the development of the social innovation and the social economy in Ireland and in Europe. What I call it, we are playing the role of an ecosystem developer. The first one is the project that you can see there, Financing Social Enterprise in Ireland. This is a project funded by the European Union Employment and Social Innovation Program, the EASY program. It's a project that we're implementing in partnership with the Dublin City University and Community Finance Ireland, and supported by the Irish Social Enterprise Network. This Irish consortium have partners representing academia, the supply side, the social finance sector, and the demand side, the social enterprises. Together, we aim to identify the most suitable social finance instruments to support social enterprises at different stages of growth in Ireland, based in other successful experience in Europe. The next project that I want to bring to your attention is the FUSE. FUSE stands for Facilitating United Approaches to Social Innovations in Europe. FUSE is one of the 6 projects supported by the European Commission in order to establish national competence centers for social innovation across Europe. We are leading this international consortium with partners from Ireland, Portugal, Bulgaria, and Cyprus, and to strengthen our social innovations ecosystem. So over the 2 years period, the consortium is working to identify and validate the needs and gaps in the social innovation ecosystems with input for key stakeholders in each of the countries that we are covering, with the goal of ultimately establishing a sustainable and responsible national competence center of social innovation. Of course, transnational and cooperation and shared learning across European partners, I would say, is at the heart of our program. The FUSE project, we see that it can create the framework conditions and enabling environments where social innovations can emerge and scale. The project can have a real lasting impact by working to build the capacities of key social innovations players across government, the public sector, the academia, the private sector, and the civil society, to strengthen and enhance their capacity to act, encouraging cross-sectoral experimentalism, new ways of working together. The creation of these national competence centers will build the capacity of these key stakeholders, but will also maximize the use of EU funding to support the development of social innovation in the future. Plus, another project that we are working at the moment that I want to bring to your attention is the one that we are working with the European Investment Bank and the Irish Managing Authority to conduct a social outcome contract feasibility study in Ireland. We believe that social outcome contracts is an effective social finance instrument that can make it possible to link a project's funding to its impact on society and attracting private capital to scale the effort of these impactful organizations. At the moment, we all know that at the end of the year, the EU is going to be presenting an action plan for the social economy. So the European Union is fostering this type of new partnerships, business and financial models, also engaging with philanthropy. We believe that social outcome contracts is an innovative social finance mechanism, but also an opportunity to combine public and private resources toward positive social impact, focusing in outcomes rather than outputs. Here in Ireland, our objective with this feasibility study is to develop a social outcome contract at national level, defining a model that is adapted to the context of Ireland. This feasibility study is also an opportunity to develop good and solid basis for a social outcome contract scheme in Ireland, working across sectors and generating trust in this process, generating new ways of working and learning from each other. Finally, I just want to show you a little bit what we are aiming to do in the next 3 years. We aim to keep building and reach 100 million social innovation fund, collaborating with our partners to develop a flourishing ecosystem for Irish social innovations and accelerating the impact of social innovations working in inequality, education, green transition, health, and social enterprises, empowering clusters of innovations to amplify their impact and ability to collaborate. Can we rethink a more inclusive, equal, and sustainable Ireland? Through the power of collaboration, we believe that everything is possible. Thank you very much, and I will be happy to be answering all your questions.
Thanks very much, Mario.
I
Yes.
will stop sharing.
Yeah, super.
Sorry.
Thanks once again for your great presentation. Very ambitious when we're talking about social innovation and this driver that you're pushing in the national level and the marvelous interconnections that you have with the European context. Probably I'll drive it also once again in the debate, but in the national context, how peculiar is your interpretation of social innovation and social entrepreneurship, and how it may change when we're talking about other national contexts? You know, if there's a national regulation, if there isn't, which could be this framework that we are already overviewing or seeing or hoping that the European Action Plan for Social Economy will bring upon us, you know, and unite our conceptions. It will be great to overview this potential that you've already brought in, you know, building on the growth of that capital, building and reinforcing the ecosystem to develop this social innovation context within different actors in the territory, which is, you know, some of them are also crowdfunding platforms, you know, Hi Donald, and social entrepreneurship. It's core in your proposal, you know, with a great organization in Ireland that we are aware of. So fantastic that you brought it in. And once again, thank you very much for your presentation. I want to bring in to the floor to Eugenio Saba. Eugenio, floor is yours.
Thank you.
You're going to be the cherry on top of the cake.
Thanks. Let me share the screen. Please tell me if you see correctly the presentation.
Perfectly.
Okay.
Super.
Great.
Thanks very much.
So I'm happy to contribute as last contributor after the interesting presentations of the colleagues, just to provide you an overview about how this Fee Compass advisory platform works, and especially how it works in the framework of supporting the social entrepreneurship. So the Fee Compass platform is basically an initiative promoted by the European Commission and paid for by the European Commission and implemented by the European Investment Bank since 2014, 2015, more or less now. And as the name says, the objective is to promote the use of financial instruments under the EU structural funds. In this respect, we deliver some quite large array of activities from events, awareness-raising events, to drafting manuals and guidance material, case studies. We offer training and capacity building to public authorities and things like that. Why do we focus on financial instruments? Because you must know already that the EU funds have been traditionally spent mostly through grants. And even more so the funds towards the social economy. Well, we focus on the financial instruments because we believe they are more efficient, of course, than grants when it comes to supporting revenue generating projects or cost saving projects, and also because you know that the EU funds and the national budgets are not limitless, and the resources are scarce, and therefore they need to be used in the most efficient way possible. The financial instruments allow for leveraging private resources from for instance, financial intermediaries, who are the bodies implementing the financial instruments under the structural funds, as you will see. And then there are some other I would say upsides of the financial instruments, and probably the one that is more is desirable the most for managing authorities and for public authorities is the opportunity to reuse resources, because when of course when a loan is repaid, or when a guarantee contract is decommitted, or when the participation share is sold, then the money gets back to the public authority and can be reused. Of course, we do not promote financial instruments as opposed to grants. Rather, we want them to be synergic with grants. And just for you to know, the EU structural funds can be spent even to support the single project, partly through grants and partly through a financial product, a repayable assistance. And this is very, very, I would say, true and interesting for social economy and social entrepreneurship, because you know that the business models of in this area are rarely entirely viable, and the returns are only long term. So I said that grants are of course prominent in the use of EU funds, but financial instruments have traditionally been associated with areas such as support to SMEs, such as energy efficiency and research and innovation. But recently also there is an increasing use of financial instruments also for in the social domain. So you see here in this map, there are already more than a few member states using financial instrument under the so-called European Social Fund, which is, by the way, the structural fund which is dedicated to employment, support of vulnerable groups, education, and training. And why do I believe that the use of financial instrument under the ESF is spreading? Well, mostly because simply the member states are understanding that the supply of finance to the social economy is not sufficient, and the financing needs are increasing. So long story short, we are witnessing an increasing number of ESF funds dedicated to loans, guarantees, and equities for mostly micro entrepreneurship, social enterprises of any size, but also to a lesser extent also to education and learning. Now, I guess that the best way to show you how a financial instrument under the ESF and for social entrepreneurship can work is to talk by example. And this is quite a good one, because this is the so-called National Fund for Social Entrepreneurship in Poland. And it's a financial instrument active since I would say no less than 10 years. So dating back to also the previous programming period, the 2007-2013 programming period, as a pilot, and then renewed and increased with further resources. This is a risk-sharing loan. So what does it mean concretely? It means that we have the so-called managing authority, which is a public authority responsible for the use of structural funds. What do? They do appoint a so-called holding fund manager, which is in this case BGK. For those of you who don't know, BGK is basically the National Promotional Bank in Poland, the equivalent for KfW in Germany, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti in Italy, CDC in France. And so what does this holding fund manager do? They do select financial intermediaries on the market, active in the relevant territory, and the financial intermediaries in turn use the ESF money to provide affordable finance to social economy entities. The role of the financial intermediary is quite important, because they need to have a knowledge of the social economy landscape in the relevant territory. And in this case, which is, as I said, a risk-sharing loan scheme, their role is quite important, because they ensure leverage, as they are bound to match the ESF funding with at least 15% more of own resources. Maybe you would say that it's not much, but trust me, we are talking about very fragile final recipients, which I would say that otherwise would get no financing. So even having such a small leverage is, I would say, a very good thing. But and you see that the flow of money that goes to the social economy entities and then is repaid to the back to the managing authority. From the perspective of the final recipient, why is it good to exploit financial instruments under the structural fund, and in this case under the ESF? Well, without reading through all the slides, just notice that the terms and conditions of these loans are quite advantageous. That means that interest rates are lower than the market ones. There are no commission and fees for applying to these loans. The maturity is quite large compared again to normal market conditions, and also the collateral, which is something very burdensome for social enterprises. They do rarely have enough collateral to access traditional banking resources. They basically do not have to provide much, if any. And also, one thing that can be interesting is that the EU money. You see that the last item is the ESF covers up to a certain percentage of the losses. So ESF money and EU money can take a junior position compared to private resources and to financial intermediary resources. Therefore, it can stimulate intermediaries to lend more money and to have a greater outreach towards for the benefit of vulnerable categories. From the perspective of again of the final recipients, just to let you know and concretely an example of a financed initiative. There is a social cooperative in Poland. They are a dairy producer. The ESF lending has allowed them to invest in machineries and to refurbish their production site, leading to an increase in their production and selling capacities. And the social angle is, of course, this is a social cooperative, so you can see that the benefit of giving relief and giving support to an enterprise that employs long-term unemployed people and also disabled people. The last item about the COVID-19 pandemic is just to highlight you that smart public authorities can adjust the investment strategy and can tweak the terms and conditions of their funding in order to adapt to changing situations. So that's what the Polish authorities did in this case, and they managed to be more flexible in the repayment of the loan, allowing so for some room for maneuvering to final recipients, which were in liquidity shortages during the COVID-19 crisis. Now, just to close the loop and say why are we interested also in crowdfunding? We did a very nice publication. You can see the cover page here. I told you that often in financial instrument under the structural funds, a very important role is played by financial intermediaries because they have a knowledge of the market, because they have a knowledge of the recipients and so on. What we would like to achieve in the long term is to have crowdfunding platforms, and I'm talking about mostly financial ones, considered as an eligible financial intermediary that can channel EU funds. So without deep diving into details, but you can also understand how beneficial it could be for a crowdfunding platform to have increased liquidity thanks to EU money, or for investors in crowdfunding platforms to be backed by public guarantees. This, we think, will most likely happen in the next years, also thanks to the new regulation. And just to close on this aspect, there is also another publication of the European Commission. This one is not FI Compass One. This is a DG Regio publication, which is not focusing on financial instruments strictly, but rather providing an overview of how the crowdfunding can integrate into the structural investment funds world. This is it for me, and looking forward to discuss with you in the next minutes.
Thanks very much. It's great to highlight that last piece, of a very big piece of the puzzle, that is the European funds. And you've already pointed out that strategy and interconnections that we find on different national levels, and especially on your position. And it's great to open up the panel, so we can have a chance to also share some of the insights. I'm going to invite you again to take the screen, Mario, Chiara, and there is a lot to talk, very short time, but probably I'll go back a bit in a very concrete moment, which is the last couple of 2 years, which we've been suffering with, and with COVID, and which has been the response of the different financial tools and your different entities to support social economy in such hard times. Because we see that each one of you has terms and conditions, the use of your platform, the scale of the investments is different. We know from Goteo and their information that it's public, that they supported over the years of functioning more than 1,800 projects. Already, Mario was saying, okay, within the funds that we have on a national level, we've supported over 200, almost 300 projects. Yet the funds are quite substantial. In the case of Coopérnico, probably how many cooperatives have you helped to create directly within Coopérnico, or how many impact initiatives have you supported with GoParity? Could be very interesting to see that scale. And knowing your expertise, Eugenio, how many public authorities or how many countries are working in such a strong strategy and positioning, as for example the case of Poland that you've actually pointed out, and therefore, what happens when we are talking about hard times as COVID, and what could be learned from there towards the future? How could we arrange, I don't know, terms and conditions, which are the risk and obstacles, so we could collide, we could work more collaboratively? And you've also mentioned out, Eugenio, the readjustments, how important they are to give a quick response, or a more that access to finance more well known. So what would be your ideas from the different initiatives that you've been seeing? How could we improve to do better? Go ahead, be my guest.
Yeah. Okay, good. So yeah, I mean, you put on a lot of questions there, of course.
I know. I'm very excited.
So I'm going to try to answer it in a structured way, and maybe start with the thing you asked about the project and
yeah, for example, starting point, yeah.
Coopérnico and GoParity. So one thing that maybe was not clear from my presentation is why, if you're starting something, would you choose a cooperative or a crowdfunding platform? Mm-hmm. And the basic difference for you as someone that will then choose to invest in one or the other is in ownership. So if you choose Coopérnico, what you are doing is you're becoming a member of a company. It is a company that is managed democratically, that invests in solar power stations, and that provides green electricity for your home. But Coopérnico owns the power stations, owns all the businesses, runs the business, does the operation and maintenance of them all. But you can also choose, I don't need this kind of ownership, I want to invest green. And you can invest with Coopérnico or of course many other platforms in Europe. And then Coopérnico, of course, is never the owner of any of the assets. So you just use crowdfunding platforms to lend money to project owners. So those project owners, the borrowers will be the project owners, they will own the assets, they will produce the electricity or start their impact project and pay back the money to you with an interest. So the essential difference is in, of course, the management type and the ownership of the projects themselves. With Coopérnico, we have now just over, I think, 1.8 megawatts in 32 different charities in Portugal, so from north to south. And in Coopérnico, we have helped fund already, I think, 115 projects using crowdlending. Just a short note on what Eugenio, the way you finished your presentation with that financial intermediary detail. We've been trying to push for that, of course, on a national level for quite some time now, and it's a game changer because the way things work now, it's very hard to make sure that the money that the European institutions have available to make this impact, it's very hard to make sure that they will actually get to all the variety of impactful projects that are being developed, and banks tend to tend the biggest share of all of that, and sometimes it doesn't get to the real impact economy. Just a final note, and then I'll let the other speakers talk about COVID and the pandemics. And on on both organizations, we've had very concrete experiences about COVID because, for example, Coopérnico was the first electricity supplier to lower if pandemics started. The economical activity took a downturn, so there was less energy consumption. The prices on the energy market went, falling very quickly. So we realized we now have margin enough to make electricity cheap for families, or cheaper, because a big part of what we pay is, of course, not the cost of production, but still. And so we lowered our prices really, really fast, and then other companies started lowering too. Now we're facing the opposite. Now economic recovery seems to have become even more active than what we had before. So now the price of everything is increasing. Like it's energy, iron, aluminum,
everything.
Human resources, of course, too. That's the good part of it. And Coopérnico is now also facing a very challenging time to have to adapt our tariffs to the new reality of the market, which is, just for an example, we are now paying electricity in the gross market 4 times as high as we were 1 year ago. So it's very hard to adapt.
Super interesting, yeah. Get it? Jorgen? No. Wanna open? Yeah, super.
I'm happy to go there, Mauricio. Going back to your question about COVID-19, no? I mean, I can give you a very clear example of how we responded, no? Or how we feel like we were a facilitator, no? Was coming this crisis. It was a huge societal need in Ireland and in Europe. And our answer was how, together with our partners, we can be supporting different social enterprises and social innovations that can be giving an answer, providing solutions to the current circumstances and to the new normal that was coming. So what we did is we opened a fund that was called Innovate Together for 5 million, almost 6 million euro. That it was in combination between government and private donors. And we feel like we were just the facilitators of giving us the money, and then we were supporting 72 different social innovations in different sectors who were providing innovative solutions for this new societal challenge. That's a little bit going back to how public and private partnerships, can be an answer to what is needed. Literally.
Well, very interesting. This partnership within public and private, it's something that's always flourishing in different conversations, especially when we talk about civic crowdfunding. And the case of Goteo, it's outstanding always. Chiara, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that concerning measures that we took during the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, we decided to lower the commission of our platform that normally amounts to the 5% of the money collected to zero, in order to facilitate the project promoters launch their campaigns. And this actually happened to be very useful, as for Goteo, the year 2020 was one of the ones since our foundation in which we supported a higher number of projects. Because as I'm sure you know, the donation, especially type of crowdfunding, saw a huge increase during the pandemic, precisely because of the need that the people in the society felt of urgent money. So that was one point I wanted to make, and the other was about the cooperativism, as I think it is a sector that is particularly linked to crowdfunding, as the cooperatives, as the name suggests, are initiatives and entities created by a collective of people, so which is exactly the same value that is hidden behind the word crowdfunding itself, the crowd. So this is something that links directly the two.
Yeah, toward. And in your case, Eugenio, which were those obstacles or risks that you were tackling when with those adjustments with COVID? What would you like to highlight? Because it was a very hard time for everybody, and the response of the different European institutions, like yours, is like it's always relevant.
Yeah, look, I will limit my response only to financial instrument and the structural funds, because otherwise I should also talk about like the pan-European guarantee that the EIB is deploying, which we don't have time for that, of course. But I would say that for financial instrument and the EU funds, part of the complexity and of the reluctancy from public authorities to use them all goes down to the regulation, the applicable regulation. Because they are, I don't know if deservedly or not, but they are perceived as a little bit difficult to implement from the public authorities, which are we need always to keep in mind, which are used more to deal with deploying grants than financial instrument. Having said this, for once, I guess that we need to praise really the rapidity of the European Commission in amending the regulation following the COVID-19 outbreak, and allowing the managing authorities who were implementing financial instrument to rapidly change the terms and conditions, to amend the contracts with the holding fund managers, amending the contract with the financial intermediaries without much bureaucracy, without much cumbersome procedures. And this allowed, for instance, to provide a lot of working capital to social enterprises or to any other kind of SMEs which were really thirsty for having some bridge financing back then. And so I guess that this also can lead towards the way we should go down in the future, meaning less bureaucracy, less requirements for setting up and monitoring financial instruments, because I guess that one way to really take financial instrument one step forward and use them more extensively will be just to be leaner in the implementation process. The public authorities normally complain a lot. Okay, they do complain often about every kind of EU regulation, of course, but the audit and control trails for financial instruments are often perceived as new and therefore too complex. But we are working towards taking down these barriers actually.
Brilliant. No, in this sense, and thanks for pointing it out. Those bridges are there. I do believe that in the different examples that we've been seeing just today with your participation and your insights, there's a roadmap ahead, very challenging for the future. And I want to open up also now. It is the time to open up to the questions that the public has been driving us, and I want to invite my colleague Sania to point out some of those precise questions. And
here I am. Thank you, Mauri. I would like to ask, we have several questions for Chiara, and thank you for asking those questions, and then for Eugenio. So I would start with Chiara first. So the first question we got is, what kind of crowdfunding campaigns did the cooperatives run? Donations or rewards?
Okay, so thank you for the question. Actually, we are a donation crowdfunding platform, but we say at the same time that we are a reward one. But when we talk about rewards, we always refer to symbolic perks that the project promoter offers to its funders. So in the case of CrowdCoop, as it is the case for all the campaigns launched on our platform, cooperatives were offering these kind of rewards to their donors, but actually all the time it is something that is symbolic. It can be, for example, for the lowest donations, just a thanking message, email, or ticket, whereas for the biggest one it could be a t-shirt or something that is produced by the cooperative. It really depends on the cases. But if you visit the website that I shared in the chat, you'll be able to see all the campaigns and get an insight of the different rewards offered.
And then the second question would be, is the curriculum of the trainings accessible so that it can be used in other countries and other communities as well?
About this, the curriculum of the training is accessible. It is not online on the website, but if you go to the training section of crowdcoop.org and you click on Contact Us, you can send us an email and we will be more than happy to share with you more information. And actually, our willingness in the future is to replicate the initiatives in other territories. So it would be a great opportunity to do this. Thank you for the question.
Don't go away, we have another one for you. So we have a question from Adelina from Romania, and she's interested if you also support charities from Romania via crowdfunding or other resources, and if yes, what kind of sectors do you support or what you don't support?
Actually, yes, we support mainly projects in Spain because of territorial proximity and also tax advantages that are for project promoters in the territory. But we have campaigns in other countries around Europe and also in other parts of the world. And so, yes, we could support campaigns from Romania. And about the type of projects, I think that I showed in my presentation a picture about the social commitment that projects have to fulfill. So this is a very important criteria for us, and especially the open source term. I mean that everything that might be produced through the crowdfunding campaign should be promoted under the Creative Commons license. So these are our terms of reference, and to get an insight of the different type of campaigns, I suggested to visit the website, and there is a function of search where you can put keywords, and so that maybe will help you find projects related to the ones you have in mind to see what previous experiences have been done.
Thank you so much for your answers. Now we have a question for Eugenio, and the question is it mandatory that financial intermediaries be banks, or can accelerators also apply to become a financial intermediary for the financial instruments for social economy?
That's a good question, and if I have to be 100% honest, nobody has the correct answer, because if you look at the recital of the regulation of the EU regulation, they say financial intermediaries authorized by the national law. So this can largely vary. Look, normally the financial intermediaries that do channel this EU funds are, of course, commercial banks, but not only. They might be, in many cases, also microfinance providers or social finance providers. They can be also alternative fund investment managers in the case of equities. So this really depends on what the selection criteria of these intermediaries are. And in general terms, of course, there should be some level of trust and recognition of the role of the intermediaries. Therefore, I mean, there should be some legal basis to appoint a certain intermediary instead of others, or to exclude a certain category of them. I have to say that for social economy, it's mostly small banks like cooperative banks and microfinance providers. But sorry, but this is also why we would like to have crowdfunding platforms in the picture, because there are no many intermediaries active in financing the social sector, and this is even more true in certain geographies in Europe. Therefore, we would really welcome the opportunity to see crowdfunding platforms as reliable intermediaries, and I guess that this is what's coming with the ECSP regulation.
Thank you so much for your answer. And we have another one, and the question has a comment by it as well. It says, mainly a question out of ignorance. Apologies if this sounds harsh, but the question is talking about requirements and regulation. Is there a moral hazard in this model? The goal of social economy is respectable, but what if the individuals engage in risky behaviors and basically waste the resources? Who bears the consequences of the misallocation of the funds?
This is not at all a stupid question, but it's kind of always the hairy question that also managing authorities and intermediaries in this area they put themselves. Look, we are talking about, in any case, repayable assistance. So the final recipiency request to repay the loan or to, of course, sell the participation. So it is not in their interest to I would say misallocate the funds, and because eventually there will be, of course, the monitoring of the loan of the financial product, and there is a repayment schedule to be fulfilled. If this doesn't happen, the financial intermediaries, by contract between the managing authority or the holding fund manager and the intermediary, they are asked to perform recovery operations for defaulted loans or for loans which are not repaid. This means that, for instance, if there's a guy who simply takes the money and runs away, but this is fraud. This can happen to grants. This can happen to loans or whatever. Normally, if anything in a presented project sounds off, it should be the financial intermediary who appraises the project and sees that maybe it's not eligible. It's not worth to be financed. And even more so, the example I put in my slides was a risk sharing instrument. So even though the bulk of the losses can be borne by the public money, and in many cases it is needed to have the public part bearing the risk, because otherwise nobody would lend to these vulnerable categories. But in any case, we always try to have the so-called skin in the game of the financial intermediaries. So if they are if they chip with own money into the scheme, of course they will have every I would say every incentive to try to recover the amounts and to I would say pursue any unlawful or wrong behavior. So yes, there is the risk, but there is the risk as in any other financial products. And by the way, in every conference or workshop talking about microfinance, you will always hear that micro loans are normally they have repayment rates which are even higher than traditional loans.
Now, this question could totally apply to each one of you, and we would extend another hour the answers. But it's true that one of the most important parts, it's the evaluation of the project previously, and that is I do believe that all the ones that you are here have your mechanisms to identify that talent and the possible risk, and which is even a contingency plan. Even within the crowd, the responsibility of the actual platforms itself, it has been there always, and even the community takes care of what is sounding so, or which is the real answer of which projects to fund or which projects to fail. That's very harsh to say it this way, but the community has the last answer. And I think that what we've seen in different conversations and in different sessions is that when projects or initiatives are looking for funding and from a very early stage, if they use crowdfunding, the moment of readiness for investment comes quicker, because they're coherent with what they're proposing. They're established as a team. They have a community that is giving them support. And I do believe, and this is probably for the closure, and I want to thank you all for your insights and your experience, because that road ahead, it's already highlighted thanks to your insights, and which bridges and which collaboration we could find directly within public and private entities for that common good of the social economy. We've been shown, and once again, the challenges that we have ahead as the European Union, the challenges that we have ahead within climate change, or the social issues that we are addressing. You're a clear example which financial tools could help to to build those stronger relationships and to collaborate more effectively, more agile in a way, and even more precisely on the readjustments that need to be done in the future. So once again, thank you for everything, for opening your institutions, for having this time towards us. I would, for the ones that are attending, please don't go. We would like to open also a small pool to give an evaluation, the same way that we request. Hopefully, for the ones attending as key speakers, I don't know if you will see us. I won't give you the chance to respond, but the public attending, please answer if you like. I'll give some time and just a few minutes for the vote.
Mauricio, while people are voting, just a
please.
Fun fact related to the last thing that Eugenio mentioned about loans in the social economy having a higher payment rate. So two interesting facts about both Coopérnico and Coopérnico is at Coopérnico we never had any insolvency. So we have supported more than 100 companies, and even during the pandemics, we introduced grace periods and extended some loans that had to be renegotiated, but no one went bankrupt. And the beautiful part is that when we sent emails to the investors saying the company you have lent money to is going through a struggle with the pandemics, are you willing to accept the new conditions? Because we asked everyone if they wanted. We got a lot of positive answers of people saying yes, of course, and this. Now is the time to show we are here, and this is the moment when these projects need us the most. So it was really interesting and encouraging.
Yeah.
And also in Coopérnico being a cooperative, and maybe it's related to ownership, people owning the company, the rate of people that don't pay their electricity bill by the end of the year compared to other suppliers is like we are on 0.something% of late payments, and the industry average is around 5%.
Imagine.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, that is an outstanding data. Because it's true. Even it's more you take care of your community. It's great. Probably to extend it also, if you like to share with us some, Chiara, probably just also as a wrap up, what is your highlights? What is your take?
Talking about the impact?
Yeah, about impact.
Yeah, for example, within the CrowdCop initiative, together with the two cooperatives that implemented it with us, we are working on the development of a social impact calculator that will help us actually analyzing the data about the impact of the campaigns that we support, because we also think that is a major challenge, and it is not at all an ignorant question. Actually, it is something also that the European Commission is very much willing to investigate. And for example, talking about EASI projects that Mario was mentioning, we are also partners in a tender that aims at evaluating the impact of EASI projects in Europe. So there's really this interest on the commission level to get insights of what is the impact of the investments that they do, especially in the social economy sector.
Yeah, and with direct reference, Mario, on impact, you know a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what is my taking is that probably we need to find spaces to collaborate more between public, private, and civil society together to find the solutions for the societal challenges. And I think something that we need to be very glad is that, at least from the European Union, there is some clear policies and strategies to be supporting this in the future, also with funding. So I think it's the future looks quite bright, I would say.
Totally. Well, thanks a lot. And it's true that the future ahead of us, it could be a bit bleak if we think about the recovery, but it's going to be strong, resilience, response, thanks to all your interventions and all your support on the financial instruments for the social economy. Once again, thanks very much from the European Crowdfunding Network. We have our reference and materials will be uploaded for the session, and any other information that you would like, please check our social networks, and we'll be happy to respond. Any other information, if you require, just contact us. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Goodbye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye now. Oof.